So welcome to another episode of BetaTalk. This season is being sponsored by Primary Pro, which is a professional outside insulation system that a lot of the good engineers I know who are installing heat pumps are now using. It was an initiative set up and started by my friend Dave Smith. Check out Primary Pro on their website. You'll be able to see that in the show notes, the link for their website. So today I'm joined by regular guest Barry Sharp from Renewable Heat up in Scotland. And for regular listeners, you may remember Barry and I have had a bit of a theme running around mentorship, helping people under, putting heat pump systems in, maybe sort of hand hold them for a first install or helping them with a first install. We had an episode called "How Boiler Engineers Transition to Heat Pumps." That was done in December 2024, and Barry had and I had Ian from Edinburgh Heating on, where we discussed about how Barry helped him with a bit of mentorship. We also did an episode called "Mentorship or Send Gas Engineers on Heat Pump PowerPoint Courses." That was me being a bit facetious with that title. Then I suppose I forget
Clear
what
the character as well for you, Nathan.
But and that was with Matt Rigby, another fantastic engineer who sort of Barry helps mentor. And so we continue with this theme. So I read the article. If you once again, if you're a regular listener, you'll know I'm quite supportive of the work SNIPEF do, and we'll chat about that in this episode. And their magazine had an article featuring Scott Sanford. Now Scott is at the SNIPEF, and he'll describe what he does there. And he's just done an install in his own home, which his article in that magazine was about, and it involved Barry. And again, we've sort of got to this theme, haven't we, Barry? Where not that Scott actually needed much guidance because he's quite good at what he does, isn't he?
Yeah, probably slightly better than me, to be fair.
So Scott, first of all, just tell us, because you're involved with SNIPEF, just sort of tell us your sort of background with your involvement with SNIPEF.
Yeah, so I'm the Technical Services and Skills Manager at SNIPEF. I've been with the organisation about a year and a half now. My history, I started back in the industry in 2003. Sorry. So I was an adult apprentice with British Gas, or Scottish Gas as we call it here. So I done a 1-year fast track apprenticeship to become a service and repair engineer. And basically, once you go through that 1-year apprenticeship, obviously they do support you, really good at support. And I got basically class as a full technical engineer or service engineer at the time after about a year and a half. Progressed through the ranks to become a coach. I'd done a couple of coaching roles, and then I went on various management roles. So I was with them for about 18 years. And then I moved on to ATAG Heating Technology, and I moved there as the head of technical, which it was a job that I really enjoyed. And that's where I was introduced to low temperature heating. So from my colleagues that I used to work with, they obviously gave me some training there. But the people in the Netherlands, interestingly enough, they do degrees in central heating over there. So I learned an absolute ton from them. But I think key players that I really learned a lot from was Kimbo Betty. I sat on his course twice. And I also had Rob Berridge when he was with Heat Engineer come up. And we had Jason Moore from IMI, and done a couple of training sessions with the IMI guys as well. So that really introduced me to low temperature heating, better central heating design and such like. So yeah, I was there for a couple of years or so, and then an opportunity came up to join SNIPEF, and I went for it, and yeah, never looked back.
ATAG are quite proactive for low temperature heating, and I was quite surprised when you were telling me about what they do in their sister boilers compared to what the UK boilers are like.
Yeah, I think the design part of it in the Netherlands, they're very much like the Germans. They like the hydraulic design. They appreciate the efficiency, the low temperature, the system water. That's soft water over there. Not much in terms of chemicals getting used either. So learned a lot from them, and it was interesting to see the similarities of what the opportunities are, especially in Scotland with the softer water and not using chemicals, and obviously getting that design part right.
Yeah, I got that sent back to me. I sent him a material list, and he goes, "I'm not touching that, not touching that."
Yeah,
Yeah, you guys are soft water up there. I mean, and going to the sort of the low temp. So the Netherlands is where the first condensing boiler came to market back in 1981. So yeah, ATAG. I suppose when that sort of discussion about low temp, I suppose it happened on Twitter. I suppose first, sort of on the sort of social media type platforms. That ATAG were one of the ones sort of really tried to help push that, and obviously Viessmann's was as well. So what's your role at SNIPEF, Scott?
So it's a kind of split role in certain ways. It's technical services. So whatever we offer as a technical service to our members, which can be training, a lot of political side of things. So trying to influence policy and standards to support the industry. And then we've got the skills side, which is looking at how we upskill everybody. How do we get to the right level that we need people to be at to support what the government policies are and for what people actually need in their homes.
And you're going to be, if I've got this right, so Warmer, you've mentioned Kimbo. Kimbo's now kind of at Warmer, so sort of what we would know as, I think, what did he call it? Nottingham Heating Academy, I think, wasn't it originally? It's now the Warmer Academy. And I think you're going to be piloting something with them, aren't you? And delivering his course. Have I got that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Quite surreal when I've attended the course a couple of times myself. And I remember back to when I first met Kimbo, he came on your podcast, and that's when I started listening to your podcast as well. So he's actually a really big influence on how my career's turned out. So yeah, absolutely brilliant to be involved in this. So we'll be offering that pilot sessions starting on the 25th of April, 25th and 28th of April at the SNIPEF offices in Edinburgh. And all going well from there, we'll start branching out. And the hope is that we can deliver the course in Northern Ireland as well.
Oh, brilliant. 25th of April, why is that? I've had so many people ring me up today. The phone I haven't been able to put the phone down. 25th of April, I think that's when I'm doing a podcast with the Heat Pump Association. That's it. Yeah. So I've had people ring me up about that. Yeah, what are you going to ask them, and can you ask them this? So I've actually put a LinkedIn post out today. If there's any questions people want me to ask the Heat Pump Association, forward them to me. So your article, Scott. Well, tell us first about the SNIPEF magazine. So let's just talk about that. Is that a new initiative, or has the SNIPEF magazine been going a while?
It's been going for quite a long time. So it's Plum Heat magazine. It's a quarterly magazine. You don't actually have to be a SNIPEF member to get it. You have to register for a login basically for the website and sign up for it. So it's a mixture of articles from SNIPEF on whatever might be happening in industry, standards, anything that we can support the members with. And we'll get our affiliate members, which are the manufacturers, and they're welcome to do a piece in that magazine as well. And every so often you might see a wee case study just on some initiative and, obviously seeing how people have got on with it.
How did you get a copy?
I can get anything, Barry.
How did you hear about it? How did you hear about the article?
I hear lots of things.
I don't remember you paying any membership fees for SNIPEF.
No, I don't. But I hear things, don't I? Well, that's the trouble. I hear so many things, and then I have to think to myself, what am I allowed to say? Who can I mean? Like I say, that some of the phone calls I've had today are from different sort of entities, and I don't know. They realise I have to talk to lots of people, don't I? Because that's part of my job. I comment on the industry, and I want to be fair. I want to be neutral. It's hard. It's very hard because I know some people have been getting upset with what I have to say, but I can't have to say it because if it's supporting engineers and homeowners, some things do have to get said to just gently nudge us down the right direction. And I think, obviously, if you're manufacturers, you're trying to sell lots of stuff, and Nathan Gambling comes along and says something, or that might upset the apple cart. I'm not trying to be personal to anyone, but some things sometimes do have to be said. But no, I can't remember how I got to read it, Barry.
You can actually get the magazine just by going to the website. It's not. I don't think it's restricted. You can just go onto the SNIPEF website and you can search for Plum Heat and get it.
Yeah. Well, I get sent stuff, so I get a lot of PR companies send me sort of embargo press releases and this kind of thing. And
I think Ian Chapman done a really good bit of promotional work on the magazine as well.
It's on the front cover. It's a bit disturbing.
Ian's got the same birthday. Ian and I share the same birthday, 21st of February. Bless him.
Brilliant guy, so he deserved to be on the front cover.
Yeah. So your article is about this install you did in your own home, and it involved Barry. And some of the things I found quite interesting was you've you've pointed out some of the, I don't want to use the word barriers, but let's say some of the things that others engineers might find as like MCS. I think there's something about heists you mentioned. Did you get hold of Barry or no? I think Barry, you got hold of Scott and said, "Look, do you want me to sponsor you on an install?"
How did it come about?
When I first started at SNIPEF, I was already looking into the grants in Scotland, and I was interested in getting the heat pump and the solar. At the time, I just felt I can't afford to do that because you need to be MCS. And that's probably the magic of SNIPEF. We've got 700 odd members around us. So you've got people that you can talk to, people that you can bounce off and get support.
That was it. You were getting cold feet when I was like, "Oh, don't be daft, just get it in." Not that hard.
Pretty much. So what Barry said is, let apply for it, get your quotes, and then what we can do is we can go through Renewable Heat, and I basically subcontract for free, so that takes away the labour cost, so it makes it affordable for me to do it. So we were actually refurbing our house at the time, so it made perfect sense. Do all the work at the same time. That work's still ongoing, unfortunately. But it's definitely worth it. From the whole kind of part from my own job, I felt it was like really, really important for me to start to learn about a heat pump installation to support our members. So when Barry offered that, I couldn't say no. Great opportunity. And again, moving forward from that, I've learned how the whole Home Energy Scotland loans and grant scheme works. So it's a bit different to the bus grant scheme down in England. I felt the challenges of that firsthand. I've had Barry chasing me for money, and unfortunately, I didn't have the money at the time because it hadn't came through. But these are all real challenges, and that's what I felt was really important in the article, is to actually say, this is a real journey. This is me upskilling from being a gas engineer, albeit I've been off the tools for a number of years, but I've still got my ticket and I still do the odd wee job here and there. But it's a real transition for other people, and hopefully what I'm sharing, they'll see that, and then they'll be able to appreciate what's actually involved.
You got it from both sides, because in the article you talk about heat loss calculations, how three different installers through the door, 3 different numbers, and that creates a lot of confusion for people. I like in the article you said I didn't believe Barry either, and did it myself and came back with the same answer.
I think we're about 300 watts difference, something like that. Yeah.
It's a relief, really. But that's what the customers are always seeing. They're always seeing that experienced installers have got a better understanding of heat loss, and people that are just new to it, that are doing it by the book, are coming out with completely different answers. And this is where it's barriers for uptake, because it creates confusions.
Yeah, I've seen that firsthand. Obviously, my job in SNIPEF, I've had people actually say to me, I've had heat loss calculations done in my own house, and they were all different, and that just reduced their confidence. So they ended up fitting a boiler rather than going down the heat pump route, and that's experienced installers. It's quite sad to hear that, to be honest, but this is the message that we're trying to share is, at SNIPEF, we have got a big network of people, and Barry's not going to be available to help everybody, but, come to me, come to the technical team in SNIPEF, we'll go away, we'll go and get the answers for you, and we'll support you. And that's what the whole warmer thing is as well. It's something to help the industry, something that's hopefully easy to understand. I know it's not heat loss calcs, it's system design, but if we can make it easier for people to understand, then that might help their journey.
It's worth just pointing out for the layperson or a new listener to this podcast. I mean, even if you had 3 very, very, very competent companies come and do a heat loss, the actual numbers aren't all going to be the same, because when we're talking about measuring, it's a bit like if you ask someone to measure something to the 10th of a millimeter, unless they got all the same standards, very, very specific measuring equipment, they're going to have sort of slightly different numbers, but in the ballpark. What we're saying is that sometimes the heat loss can be out of the ballpark of each other. I mean, it'll never be exactly the same numbers.
Yeah, but we were talking. You were talking. I came back with 6.2 kilowatts, and some people are coming back with 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a huge difference.
Yeah,
that's the problem we've got, and that's a change in difference. That's a different unit. It's a completely different heat size.
But I worry that the customers, like if someone, let's say, comes out with 7.2, I worry that the customer think the other person should come out with 7.2, and the other person,
or they should all be within a margin. No, I think it's just
because
there's no easy answer for this one at all.
No, because what you're talking about measuring a lot of all sorts of different areas, of different types of
Yeah,
materials.
interpretations as well. You don't know what the construction's like or what's
Yeah,
been done since. You're making assumptions on lots of different fabric.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
And so you see that was one of the first points you talked about in that article, sort of the heat loss, and then what was the other sort of thing that sort of was there anything that really struck you about the install that you thought, oh, I didn't realise that, or I didn't know that, or didn't appreciate that? Was there anything that sort of really jumped out when you did this install? Because obviously you're a competent engineer at putting stuff in, all sorts of kit. But was there anything that sort of particularly jumped out?
Not really. That's just the truth. That I actually felt everything was pretty straightforward. What I did,
Space.
yeah, not a lot of space under the floor to get pipes in,
Or space for plant, either.
or the plant room. That wasn't a surprise, or that was just hard work at the time to get everything in there. But I think I was actually quite pleasantly surprised at how easy the heat pump was to install. It's a lot of graft. I mean, I was on my own. I think probably work out maybe 10 days to upgrade the system, do everything I needed to do. And I was running wires and such like myself. But I'd actually done the calculations on my system multiple times. And I think because of all the renovation work I was doing in my house, I forgot that I'd done them. And I bounced off Barry saying, I've got this. Will that be all right? And he's like, yeah, it's blasé about it. He's like, that's fine, And to be fair, it was. But then I'd go back and redo all my calculations. Then I'd find my spreadsheet I'd done 3 months earlier. And I'm like, okay, I've already done it. So I think for me, again, probably being off the tools for so long, planning is really key to what you're doing, and just have your process mapped out. But in terms of the installation, nothing really surprised me. I think the radiator calculations, probably the only thing. I done it by the Sibsey book. And when you do all the calculations in there, it's quite longhand. And I was like, have I done this right? And again, I mentioned it to Barry. Barry just said, use the MCS spreadsheet. All right, how did I do that? And I tried that for my heat loss calc. So I was already a bit put off by it because I felt that was quite complicated. But when Barry explained that, just put your what you need into this cell and it will calculate for you based on the delta T and whatnot. I was like, okay, and it's straightforward in the end, to be honest.
You can get hung up on it because it's your delta T will change your room target temperature and mean temperature, so it can get confusing because you've got multiple numbers to think about. That's why the spreadsheet just chuck it in.
Yeah.
So on a technical kind of thing, then nothing particularly jumped out. But so was it more admin and sort of the process of, like, let's say DNO planning, maybe, and or dealing with MCS or any of that?
I don't know the hard stuff. That's how.
You did all the hard stuff.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, that was the kind of point of me going through Barry, was to make that process easier. But Barry, we sat down together. He showed me all the paperwork, what he's got to do to get things signed off.
Right, so it wasn't just a case of Barry doing it all for you. You kind of mentored Scott through that sort of process.
He needs to see it because he needs to understand it from a SNIPEF point of view of what we're all struggling with. The DNO applications and trying to communicate with them, and then the MCS, they're doing all the paperwork behind MCS, all that. You just let them show the whole process.
And you switched. I mean, you said this in your article, Scott. You were going to have an EB, and then you eventually went for Viessmann, didn't you?
I did, yeah, that's right.
Now, I'll have some listeners that will want to know why that was. I can't remember if your article explained it there, actually.
Yeah, no, well, to be honest, there's a few reasons. My wife was really adamant that she wanted a room stat. And the Navy just was weather comp. And I tried to explain to her about weather comp and how it works, and she just wasn't having it. So that was one thing. I kept that in the back of my mind. But
just put one on the wall and disconnect it.
Funnily enough, my old ATAG one's still there just now, but it doesn't work. It's unplugged, but it's still on the wall. So, but no, the Viessmann uses weather comp. We don't have a thermostat. And what I've said to her now is, are you warm enough? She's a nurse, or she's a charge nurse. She gets up at 5:30 every morning, and it was a common complaint the house was freezing when she got up. And it was a shame because you're working your heating for maybe an hour or two in the morning, and then at night, and however we ran it at the time. And now she doesn't complain about the heat, which is great. But going back to the obvious switch, I host webinars for SNIPEF. So we get our affiliates and sometimes members. Barry's done a webinar for us as well, which is brilliant. And I hosted Viessmann when they spoke about the BetaTalk heat pump. And I was just really, really impressed with what they were showing us, what they were talking about. And I felt, this is my opportunity. It's my own house. I'm refurbing my house. I want to have what I feel is the best option for my house. But there's a few things I probably didn't appreciate at the time was for the 151 option, which is the built-in hydro unit with the cylinder. I couldn't get it to work. So then I had to then look at getting a unvented cylinder and then splitting my plant room, which I got it to work in the end. But again, it's more work, it's more pipe work, more cost onto the job, and a bit more time, obviously, to install it.
Viessmann have got two ranges. They've got one with an integrated cylinder, looks like a fridge freezer, and they've got one with looks like a gas boiler and a hot water cylinder separate.
Yeah,
but
just
they're both chunky bits of kit.
Yeah, just for the layperson, because obviously, I suppose most people that are becoming aware of heat pumps, they think there's a unit outside, and then your pipework goes to your cylinder, basically, and that kind of thing. But with the Viessmanns, there's an indoor bit, isn't there? And it's worth one of you guys just explaining what that is so people understand what that's called and what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a hydro unit, and as Barry said, it's just like a boiler. It's actually a wee bit bigger than my ATAG boiler. But within it, it's got a 15-litre defrost buffer. You've got your three-way valve, you've got your pump, and you've also got backup heating elements. So if the heat pump ever did happen to break down, I've got a bit of almost an electric boiler as a backup there. Plus, you've also got a booster if you ever need it to recharge the cylinder a bit quicker, that kind of thing.
It used to be quite common years ago because it also meant that all those components are underneath the manufacturer's warranty as well. So it's also neater, and it's just like one box and all rather than repiping it. They seem to go out of favour quite a bit. I quite like the idea of bringing it back. Just try to speed up the install.
Yeah, but I mean, arguably, the manufacturers you've been using sort of in recent years, Barry, don't use the Hydrobox method, do they?
No. I mean, what Daikin use one. Motorola have gone. I know Motorola. Mitsubishi have went back to one as well. It's a good way of doing it. I think it not de-skills. It just makes it quicker to go on the wall.
As long as it's got good components.
They have SB valve in it. And,
I was going to say the Viessmann have. I mean, they use SB valves, and NIBE when their kits come with SB, I think, don't they?
It's not SB, but something similar.
Yeah. No, SB seem to be winning that market, and rightly so. Well, rightly so. It's a good.
Rich Burrows has got a lot to answer for.
But is it Peter at Viessmann when you do your webinars, Scott?
It was Lawrence Allison. He's the sales manager for Scotland for the heat pumps, and it was Chris Tummel, I think his last name was, the training manager. He's based down in Telford. Now,
in the article, you mentioned the MCS process, and you mentioned one of the consumer code protection schemes, the HICE one. I never remember if I pronounced that right. What was the actual? I'm trying to think of what you actually mentioned in that paragraph. Oh, and by the way, before I forget, you did mention my podcast at the end, so I'm very, very grateful for that. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no worries. I've been listening for a few years now, and as I said before, it was really Kimball and I think Jason Moore at the time. They'd mentioned it. Kimball went on. I went on to listen to him. I liked it, and I just have been listening ever since. So, again, I said Kimball's had a big part in what I've done to where I've got to today. So's your podcast. So I've only felt it was right to share it and let our members and readers know about it as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. But in terms of the MCS and the
consumer code, I think they're called
consumer code, I don't think I mentioned that. No, it was at Home Energy Scotland I spoke about with the grants. And maybe the MCS accreditation for that.
Maybe we've got a different system up here, Nathan.
Well, if you used the acronym Home Energy
Scotland, yeah. HES, you would have got that mixed up. HES, Home Energy Scotland.
That's my dyslexia. My brain would have just seen that and thought HEIS, which I think is how you pronounce it.
It's a bit of a pain point in Scotland because it's not the bus. The payment gets made to the homeowner and then to us. But there's a whole conversation within SNIPEF because we've been talking to the Scottish Government about this as well, about the fact that it's not working great. It's been a great system because Scotland's always had a bigger grant and they're interest-free loan. So it's always accelerated our market. But because it's tied to, because it's an interest-free loan, it's technically a financial product, which then opens up a whole can of worms for how you communicate that and how you sell it, because we can't be seen to coerce homeowners into taking it or getting the money. So what it does, though, it creates loads of barriers for us accessing that money, because the client has to get the paperwork in position to draw the money down. So in Scotland, a lot of the members, SNIPEF members, are complaining that it can take, their final payment can take 4, 6, 8 weeks to come, when the bus scheme might be 2 or 3 weeks.
Because you're relying on...
So it's creating a cash flow problem.
You're relying on the customer to go online and fill out some paperwork and do this kind of thing, I suppose.
They get pre-approved for it all, but it's submitting the paperwork at the end, because they've got to have an EPC, MCS certificate and invoice. So you're relying on them submitting that in a timely manner and then drawing the money down. But what's been happening is there's been maybe an error in the quote or something wrong with the EPC, and then suddenly it gets knocked back. It's another 2 weeks while it gets knocked back. So the SNIPEF have been really proactive for this, and we've got a meeting with the minister in Scotland about it a few weeks ago, and they're coming to office in a couple of weeks' time to talk further about it, about their plans and how they're going to try and improve it.
What have you got ideas of how you could improve that then? What would the best
there is chat about a Scottish bus, which sounds a bit perverse. A Scottish bus? Where's that Scottish bus going? But I think we just need to take some of the stumbling blocks out, see if there's any way we can make it easier for the homeowner and for Home Energy Scotland. So there's some ideas put about maybe we submit information on their behalf, or do we open lines of communication so we can help? But it's a grey area, so we're just starting the conversation now.
My head's gone funny. I've got this vision of a bus with midgie screens on it as you go up the East Coast.
Just loads of alcoholics just running about the country.
Yeah, for the midgies. So, Scott, you've got your system up and running. Obviously, we're kind of coming out the winter season. Really. I mean, our temperatures are still dropping quite cool here in England, and you're obviously up in a colder part of the UK. So I suppose it'll be next winter when you really sort of get to grips, you and your wife, about if you really like it, I suppose. But I'm sure you like it already.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, a few weeks ago it was -3 overnight where I live, and I woke up, my house was 21 degrees. So, can't complain. I'm still fine-tuning the system, though. I'm still playing around with my heat curve. I'm still renovating my house, so I've still got part of my underfloor heating to do and a towel warmer to put in. Once I've done that, obviously make sure the balance of the system's as it should be. And then wait until we get the proper cold weather next winter, and then I'll get a good gauge on it. But yeah, so far the way it's been running is superb. It's flow temperatures are as low as 27 degrees, and the house is warm enough. I've got the solar as well, which Barry's company done for me. So solar and battery. So I've also signed up to Octopus Go. So I'm charging up the battery during the night. Solar's obviously picking up the great weather that we're getting here just now. So this is our summer probably. But yeah, I'm only paying. I'm paying under £2 a day, and I've got 2 kids that love playing on their Xboxes and their TVs, and burning all the electricity. So it's been fantastic, to be honest.
We don't talk about this enough. That's what's going to unlock heat pumps, the PV and batteries. That multiplier effect that we keep talking about. Mick Walls talked about it, didn't he?
Well, he called it the Holy Trinity, and then I think we've had a revamp there because there's the tariff now. So there's I come up with something like the 4 pillars. I come up with something. He did an article. He didn't pick mine. So I mean, the solar and battery is obviously what your company, Renewable Heat, offers solar and battery as well, doesn't it, Barry?
Yeah, we started about a year ago now. Yeah, so we're probably doing one a week now. But I mean, it's all coming hand in hand. It's the same consumers that are buying it just now. We're still kind of, it's like I say, we're still that kind of innovator stage. So it's people that like the tech. So a lot of people are on a journey. You can almost if you drive up to someone's house and you see a solar panel, you can almost guarantee you're going to sell them a heat pump next. But it's almost like every house I go to has got EV charger or solar, or they've got plans in the near future for it. So it's all coming back to back. So we were seeing that customers just want one point of access for it all. They want somebody to do it all.
Now, I've been having chats with all sorts of people, as I alluded to at the beginning. There's talk that we might see a slowdown in the UK in the retrofit side of things. There's talk that the social housing and new build will grow, and you're seeing a lot of the manufacturers, obviously, they're trying to sort of grab that market. But because we're at this innovative stage, probably haven't even reached early adopters yet. You know, this thing is quite costly for your average person. You know, to have this done. I mean, obviously, it was Scott had free labour; he did it himself. You know, this thing is quite a costly thing for a lot of people to do. So there is talk that we are going to see a bit of a dip. Maybe next year that we'll see
A dip or a plateau?
bit of a dip.
We're not seeing it.
No, well, you won't, and well, I don't think you will. And some of the good engineers, I was chatting to a really good engineer today this morning, and they won't see it because they can't. You know, their order books are they're not a massive outfit. They're not as big as you, but their order books are full because they're the people that are, I suppose innovators that want this stuff have realised, you know, we need good engineers to get this stuff done. And so they see these good engineers on LinkedIn now, and they hear them on my podcast. I mean, it's not kind of hard to spot who they are, some of them. So these ones have got full order books, but there is because if you look at Europe has slowed down. Well, more than slowed down. The sales
Dropped quite a bit. Yeah.
with obviously we're still on that trajectory upwards, but you know, once we start to get all the innovators people out of the way, you know, the people that have got their EVs or solar, etc., or have got the money, even after bus, there's this thing. Well, you know, how does even with bus, this thing is quite an expensive thing for the average person. In retrospect,
the conversations are changing, so I'm not totally convinced of that because we've seen second and third tier. So we'll do someone on our street, and then 2 years later we'll do the neighbour. And then another year after that, we're doing somebody else. We're starting to see that kind of tier going on. And the conversations are changing at the door anyway. People are saying, not so much the early innovator ones who are up in the tech. I've seen a lot of people that are just, my next heating system is going to be a heat pump, just like my next car is going to be electric. They see it as a journey and they just try to get ahead of the curve. So I think the conversation's starting to change a little bit. That's that transitioning from innovator to early adopter.
yeah. I mean, you mentioned.
But you're right. Will there be enough of them? I don't know.
Well, you mentioned that on the podcast, didn't you? The people seeing their neighbour. I mean, yeah, but the point still.
You've got to have that money to do it.
Exact people have to have money, so that's where obviously the financial people around that sort of financial piece are thinking about systems that they can introduce. You know, there's all sorts of people in that sort of area now.
But we've not seen the effect of the the mortgage companies not getting involved with it because they've got books to clear the carbon. So all their mortgages have got to be carbon free at some point. So they'll bring money and solutions to the table. Carbon credits. I've had a couple of companies talk to me about carbon credits, about bringing extra money in, maybe 150 quid a month for a few years. I think there'll be other mechanisms starting to release it. But yeah, you're right. Unless you've got that $7,000 sitting in the pocket, or you can pull strings in SNIPEF, then you're struggling to get the money for it. There's other things to spend money on. Can you imagine your wife saying $7,000 for a kitchen or $7,000 for a bathroom or a heating system? It's not going to be the heating system.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we were in a fortunate position that we were refurbing the house, and obviously, as you said, I could do the work myself. If I couldn't do the work myself, it wouldn't have happened. If Barry obviously hadn't stepped in. So, no, I understand from that side of things. And I think when you get government policy, so the Heat and Buildings Bill in Scotland, that's been revamped recently, and they're looking to bring that out later. But when there's constant change within the government, you know, they're saying the policy be this way, they go that way, they're not sure what they're doing. That doesn't breed any confidence. And then obviously you've got your funding, and we can't obviously pay for it forever. That funding cannot be there from the government forever, so it makes it difficult. But I'm a big believer in. I've been saying it for a while now that I think there's a lot of work that we could be doing to optimize systems just now and upgrade them. So actually design that system so like a boiler is doing what it should do out of the box. So you've got a minimum standard 92% efficiency, but we probably don't have our systems designed to deliver 92% efficiency or above. So I think there's a lot that can be done to, you know, over the years transition, make those systems better, get the boilers more efficient, which in turn you're reducing your carbon emissions, you're obviously saving money in your bills. And then in time, you know, that system's going to be hopefully heat pump ready. And then that's maybe the time to upgrade to the heat pump.
How do you
ready, you know?
How do you incentivize or drive that then? Do you legislate it? Do you incentivize gas engineers? Here's a you got 0% VAT if you do a low temperature system, or how do you think? Because really, because it's extra work.
Yeah, I don't have the answer. I don't think there's any one answer for it either. But I think
Let's
the big thing that I would like to see is the government really supporting the upskilling and transition for engineers.
let's just pull on that
And getting
point,
the training right.
Barry. You said it's a lot more hard work. Is that what
It's
you
a
said?
lot more work to make a. Well, you think about it. If you walk into someone's house and the gas boiler's failed, what's the path of least resistance? It's sticking a gas boiler on the wall, not to make it.
Sorry. I thought you meant it was a lot more hard work. The thing I'm interested in is because one of the good things about SNIPEF is you've got the voice. Well, you work with heating companies. You're not like manufacturers, like other associations. You are the companies that are installers.
Employers. The EF stands for Employers Federation.
Yeah. So you've got so for instance, like what you said, Scott, if people start putting boilers in that are weather comped for a start, we get an idea of whose homes are, some people's homes are going to be able to have way low temperatures already because they've got big enough rads in them and all these sort of things. So are you seeing within your organisation engineers start to think about, all right, maybe this is the way to install boilers because in the future that's going to ease the transition to a heat. I mean, because obviously you've got you're very forward facing with people that are putting boilers in, aren't you?
Yeah, we're starting to see it more. I'd like to see it be even more, but I think one of the things we have to appreciate that it's some people have got bathroom companies, some people have got boiler companies, and their model works for them just now. So maybe why would they change? So there's lots of different factors why people perhaps wouldn't change. Some people are saying gas boilers are going to see me out till I retire. So that's a big challenge as well. So there's a lot of barriers.
That's fine though. If they were just weather comping them. So what happens then? You got the customer's got a system that's working a little bit better, but also the customer's then getting used to the fact that their radiators for some days of winter don't need to be burning, scalding hot. I mean, like you just said, sometimes your radiators only need to be 27-degree flow temps. And so the company can continue with their boiler installs. That's not a problem. But let's weather comp them. So at least at the end of the day, you've got a home or an occupant in the home that kind of gets it. That it's a very comfortable heat. It is a lot, probably arguably more comfortable heat. And so that they're not worried in the future when someone says, "Look, we're going to put your heat pump in." Yeah, okay, yeah, no, I've lived with that kind of system. I mean, is that something?
I would say that there's the knowledge base of engineers is starting to climb. If we go back 5 years ago, nobody would talk about weather compensating, but we're all talking about it now. So there has been, Joe said this recently in a post, and she sees that the baseline starting to lift a little bit. People are now understanding more about hydraulics and more about controls and more about weather compensating. This is relatively new to us, so maybe it's just the start of the momentum.
Yeah, I think the work that we're doing at SNIPEF, we've done the project with Nesta, so the Start at Home project, very similar, I guess, to what I've done with Barry. We've supported 40 member companies to upskill, and then Nesta have gifted them a free heat pump to fit in their house, and that's given them the skills to then improve what they do for their business in terms of installations. And on the back of, we've done a webinar today with Warmer, just a wee introduction to the hydronics. And one of those member businesses actually got in touch with me after saying, have you got a recording of that? I want to show it to more people. It's generating more and more interest. And I think as we start pushing this out more, talking about it more, we'll get people picking up on it. We're also doing our tech talks around Scotland and Northern Ireland this year. And I've got a presentation I've been doing called Modern Central Heating. And everything's kind of geared towards exactly what you're saying, weather comp, system design and such like, and better installations. So I'm hoping that the more that we spread the word, the more we talk about it, things like this, the podcast obviously will promote that as well through SNIPEF channels. And the more people that hear these things, hopefully that generates that interest to start picking up on it.
I'm up your way soon, guy. I'm up there on the 6th of June, I think. Is it to see your dad, Barry, get his chains put around his
medallions?
He's
becoming the president of SNIPEF on the 6th of June. He takes over.
That's it. How does that system work then? Just to explain for listeners, how does that system all work, the sort of presidency?
There's districts within SNIPEF. So, because the districts are the old plumbing associations, that some of them are like 140, 150-year-old. I think Dundee's 150-year-old. They put forward people for the presidency. So you get junior vice, and president. It rolls through every year. So Dunk got voted in 3 years ago, and that's him working through the ranks. So he'll be the the big dog.
And then how long does he have? Is that just a year?
Just a year, and he stays within the board anyway because you'll go to past president.
Right.
So he represents all the members within the board of SNIPEF.
I'm looking forward to that.
They've got some. We've got an historic building for it. We've got somewhere nice for it.
Well, you've got some nice whiskies up there, I've been told as well.
Oh, you and I know that doesn't go well.
Oh, right, yeah, okay. We won't talk about that. So, the install you've got, Scott, what would you say to people that kind of wanted to do what you've done and put it in their own homes? So let's say they're a heating engineer, up in Scotland or down in England or across from Wales. What would you say to them? Is it something they should do or think about doing?
Yeah, I would recommend it. Even without the solar, I've worked out my energy usage and it's so much better than what the gas boiler was.
Even with your efficient setup before, how efficient was your gas boiler before? Do you know, or how well had you have it set up?
I was working on load comp with my boiler before, but I ran it different. Some days I'd run it low temp all day, and other days I just put it on and off with higher temp. I messed about it, and again, it's probably an advantage.
This is why your wife was so cold at night because you kept mucking about it.
yeah. But it's probably again a wee bit an advantage of the job that I used to have. I was the first boiler of its kind in the UK. It came with flow technology, so I was playing around with that in my house, just putting it through different tests and trials. So I knew how my system would perform, but I knew the limits of it as well. So I knew that I couldn't go any further than probably about 50-degree flow temp, otherwise the house would really struggle. And then when it got to below design temperature, it really struggled. I had to bump up to 60 degrees. Again, I can do that. And obviously anybody in the trade can. But I think it's that leap of faith as well. For me, a heat pump's a new technology. I've been around them for a few years, but I didn't actually have my hands on them when I was with ATAG. They had them in the Netherlands, around Europe, but not in the UK. And when we went over to the factory, they taught us a little bit about them. Great to see it, really excited about them, but it just wasn't the right time for that business over here. And that's fine. So you do have to take that leap of faith as well. You put a new technology in your house and you can understand everything about it, but it's new. And there's probably that fear of change and such like it comes into it. And so I think even Home Energy Scotland grants or the bus scheme down south, if you can use that to fit it in your own house, that's going to give you that confidence, that real life confidence. You can experience it. If there's something wrong with it, learn from it, fine tune it, fix what's wrong. And then you can take that experience to your customers. And for me, that's only going to strengthen your business.
It's a good marketing tool, isn't it, for an engineer to be able to find prospects. If you can say, well, I've got one in my home, and so you negate and attenuate all sort of the myths then, because a heating engineer is not going to have it in their own home if it doesn't work and costs them a lot to run. So I think it's a good thing for.
That's the whole point of the Nesta project.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you've got the free labour. I mean, don't get me wrong. A lot of us engineers, we're quite lazy when it comes to our own homes and doing stuff, aren't we? I've still got my air-to-air in my cousin's garage. I haven't put it in yet. I've got electric heaters, but I mean, I live in.
I'm the opposite. I keep tinkering with my system, and my wife, I feel like all day on it. My wife goes, "Is that it more efficiently after you spent £400 on valves and that?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Well, actually, so you're on an open energy monitor with a very, very high performing system, Barry. Are you going to do something like that, Scott? Put it on open energy monitor, and have it monitored, or not yet, or think about it?
Well, no, not yet. I'm open to it because I've nothing to hide. I'm happy to share, as you've seen, obviously with the article I'm doing this. I'm happy to share what I'm doing, what I'm learning, and how it's performing. Because I think we need to share the good news stories about it. There's still a lot of bad news stories. You still see that every day on social media almost and whatnot. So I think it's really important. So yeah, I'm open to Open Energy Monitor. I monitor it through the software that I get with the Viessmann, and my performance levels I'm happy with.
I mean, there are people on Open Energy Monitor who are monitoring it just for getting. But they don't have. You don't have to announce it to the whole wide world on that league table. You can still have Open Energy Monitor and
keep it private.
Keep it private, can't you? Yeah. And it helps a lot of people see. Well, one thing it helps them see is how accurate is the onboard system of a particular manufacturer's heat pump. But yeah, no, it's a lot of people are getting some benefit from it. I mean, like I say, Barry gets benefit from his 'cause he likes to be at the top.
I've detuned it again because
However,
I gave up trying to chase demo. I detuned it for cost, so I tuned it back to being cheaper because I've got tariffs, so I can, if I run it certain times of day at certain temperatures, I get cheaper bills.
well, you've got PVT. Is it you that's got PVT, or is it
Yes,
Barry's? It's you that's got PVT, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Just explain to the layperson what PVT is.
I bought a house with ground source in it, and I got all excited because I thought I've got a really good heating system until I got to the first winter and realised it had been designed and installed completely wrong, and the ground collector was far too small. So what I did was I kept the ground collector, but I added in solar panels, but the solar panels have got a heat exchange on the back of it, so my ground source can take heat from the ground or the back of my solar panels. So on a day like this, I get COPs of like 8s and 9s.
And your PV panels are actually more efficient because they've been water cooled. You know, they're cooler.
Cool, yeah. So I've been mucking about it. This winter, this summer, sorry, I'm going to put the circuit pumps on the heat pump and just take all the heat from the panel and bump it back in the ground. Keep that going, so I'll keep the panels cool and start charging my ground back up.
So what else? What else are you? Because you're really at the sort of the forefront of the industry, Barry. I mean, you've done as Scott's articles said. You know, Barry's done over 1,000 heat pump installs, and so you're really at the sort of front of this industry, seeing what's going on, movement. I mean, we've already sort of discussed. You know, I'm hearing there may be a bit of a slowdown. You're probably not seeing that yet. But what are you seeing changes, or what do you think needs to be changed? What's currently going on?
I think as medium-sized businesses like me and Leia, and I guess you could say IMS as well, because although they're a lot bigger now with Home Tree, I think we're starting to see pressures from two sides now. So it was a very cottage industry. Now we've got national players, which didn't have before, ERA, EDF, etc. And we're also seeing that there's a lot more support for the micro businesses now. So there's a lot more umbrellas out there helping micro businesses. So it's City and Vito had an announcement this week of doing umbrellas, which is great for Patrick.
Yeah.
But that was never there 3 or 4 years ago, really. And now there's multiple umbrellas all helping each other. So now we're starting to feel the pressure. But I mean, it's not a tide lifts all boats. It's going to be fine. It's more people talking about heat pumps, the more we'll sell. And the market's going to be big enough for us all.
That's interesting. I mean, yeah, Jez, funny enough, has been on the phone to me this morning. So that the Patrick Wheeler Vito. I mean, for listeners that are interested, I mean, Patrick's umbrella scheme is the original. What was the Heat Geek scheme? You know, that's because most of the people that originally were doing that before Heat Geek went down a different direction were on the Vito under the Vito MCS, weren't they? And so they've teamed up with City Plumbing. I do know that Clayton Brown at HPN have got a bit of an announcement as well with their umbrella scheme.
Heard grumbles about Valiant doing one as well.
Well, Valiant just popped into my head, but I'm just thinking, what am I allowed to talk about and what aren't I allowed to talk about?
I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm not.
But the point being is that the barriers are starting to come down.
Actually, maybe I am allowed to talk about. So Viessmann, Valiant. I've had some chats. So I think Valiant used to support a number of umbrellas, and they've whittled that number down because obviously Valiant wants some good installs going in. I mean, I was chatting to he's up your neck of the woods actually. Someone quite high up in Valiant the other day about what they're seeing in the sort of industry. It was really, like I say, I can never remember what I'm supposed to say and what I can't say, so I'm going to shut up now, actually. So going back to we were talking about OEM, so that's something you're going to maybe think about, Scott, just to sort of see what's going on with your own system. We've talked about...
Depends if my wife will let me spend any more money to be fair.
You have to mention it. Well, no, you should always be honest. So yeah always be honest. We could do a whip round for you.
Yeah, go for it. We go fund me from Open Energy Money.
But yeah, so what else are you seeing, Barry? You were saying, oh, that's what I was going to say. So yeah, the whole structure of the industry has always fascinated me. As we know, early 80s we shifted to a sole trader type industry, really, didn't we? Because it's quite easy to put a board on the wall on your own. previous to that, 50, 60, 70s, direct employed labour in the industry. You had your 12 regional gas boards, you had your councils. And it's been
It was like a
interesting.
history lesson with you, Nathan.
It's right.
That was a history lesson with you.
Well, it's interesting how this is all going because obviously I've been having some chats with all sorts of people. So I went and had some chats with the Home Tree people recently. Because Home Tree acquired IMS. You're very good friends with Emma Bowen, as I am. They're based in Sheffield and Scotland, so they're doing work where you guys work. And I was quite interested in their model because their model is basically looking for SMEs that in different parts of the country and then acquiring them, but letting them do what they know they're good at. Don't
keep the autonomy. Yeah,
and I kind of I had some good chats with some sort of three people that are involved in that sort of side of things, and I was quite interested in it because you've got other entities that have gone down the direct employed route. So that's your octopuses, your airers, and then they want to train their own direct employed people and stuff like that. And they are quite two distinct sort of business models. And as we know in the past, any company that tries to become a national heat pump installation company, well, it hasn't really happened yet. But if you look back in the past sort of short history within the last 20 years, obviously Octopus and Air are quite new. So it's quite an interesting model the Home Tree model has. And if I'm honest, I quite liked it because it gives a bit. Most customers like local tradespeople to, they're familiar with the local people. All right, you could argue some people have British Gas always around to do their boys, but a lot of people like that local aspect, and this helps this local aspect.
Emma's talked about this already. Emma said that there's always been the local guy, the regional guy, and the national in your town, and they've always kept themselves busy with boilers. Why wouldn't it be any different for heat pumps? And I think she's right. I think up to now it's been regional guys mopping it up, but now we're seeing both sides of it coming through.
What's going on in Scotland with sort of Air and Octopus? Are they getting? Because obviously I should imagine you're one of the largest SMEs installing in Scotland.
I'll be up there. There'll be bigger ones, but yeah. So we know Nicola. Nicola's been getting involved with SNIPEF stuff from.
She did in the early days of Era, but we've not heard much.
She's coming to the meeting next week.
But no, it'd be good to get her involved in the low carbon forum next
Air up here have been great. They've been really friendly. So we know because it's quite a small industry. You all know each other anyway. But they're very, very proactive with their marketing. They built a business the same size as mine in 9 months. So that's impressive. But deeper pockets than mine. But they're not trying to squash anyone. They're trying to help everyone. So they've been very vocal in Scotland about the issues of Home Energy Scotland.
Yeah,
they were very vocal, and they're getting involved with SNIPEF. Although they're not members yet, they've been getting involved with SNIPEF with us to help kind of iron out some of the problems.
No, I was at the Parliament event with Air not so long ago, and that was one of their issues that they're trying to get across. This thing, the Home Energy Scotland thing.
Yeah.
Which is probably worth for the listeners. Just explain it because there will be some listeners that don't know what Home Energy Scotland do because it is a different system that you guys go through up in Scotland, isn't it?
Yeah. It's similar to bus, but it's paid to the homeowner. Yeah, that's the difference. Yeah, and they also in Scotland had interest-free loans. And that's been the problem, I think. But we had loans and grants for years now, 10, 15 years or something now. Even during RHI, we were getting interest-free loans. So that you were getting beforehand, the customer could borrow an interest-free loan and pay it back with the RHI payments. They weren't putting their hands in their pocket. But it's been quite good because they got the £7,500 grant and they can top up with another £7,500 interest-free loan. So it's starting to get close to what the cost would be for a gas boiler. So the difference in their cash outlay to start with, it will be similar to a gas boiler. But the difference being hopefully enough savings to pay back the loan on it.
We've got a installer coming up.
Yay!
Because it comes around quick, doesn't it? It's like halfway into the year. Well, it's always at end of June. So that's, we're nearly there already.
You put an email like 2 weeks ago saying 100 days. It's like,
it's only like Christmas yesterday. A SNIPEF at the installer show this year.
They are. Unfortunately, I can't make it. I'd love to go. But we are basically, I think we've got a stall.
You've got a stall in MCS, yeah.
Yeah.
My dad's trying to get me to go in the stand. I'm like, no, you're on yourself.
And your dad will be there, won't he, Barry?
His dad's coming up, yeah. I think Fiona's coming as well, the CEO.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, that's a meal I look forward to already. I always like having a good chat with your dad. We put the world
When
through.
is installer? Is it end of June or start?
It's the end of June, yeah.
Yeah, so you'll be up in Scotland in the start of June, and we'll meet up again the end of June. That'll be my quota with you for the year, then, Nathan. I won't touch you again after that.
So I'm doing my live sort of, well, I say live, it's to a live audience podcast at Installer on the first day at noon. And we're going to be talking about, so it's the 10th anniversary of the Installer Show.
Oh, is it?
So on the panel, we're looking back 10 years, what did the last 10 years look like? And then we're sort of projecting 10 years forward. So I've got some good people coming on. I've got some artificial intelligence type people coming on who I'm currently doing some work with at the moment. And because obviously most of us don't know what artificial intelligence is. I mean, I have got it to write some of my headlines lately for some of my episodes. So that's good. But it's obviously going to be encroaching all sorts of industries and businesses as we go into the future. So they're coming on to discuss how that might happen within our own industry, and I'm sort of working with them guys with some little ideas. And then I've got Madeline from Leicester's going to be on the panel.
Hey.
I've got Mark Denman, who you'll know from Renewable.
Yeah, he's switched on. I like talking to Mark.
Lovely bloke. I'm trying custom renewables. That's it. And who else we got? I've probably got my mate John from Wolsey coming on, because obviously it'd be nice to hear a merchant perspective of what they've seen over the sort of last 10 years at the sort of counter. And then I think I'm on a panel about water treatment with Damo and Ricky, so that's going to be good. I'm going to sort of be pushing back against the chemical inhibitor industry still.
He likes chemicals, isn't it? That's what we're saying.
What else have I got? I've got another talk. I think I'm on a talk with Dan Foss, on a panel for one of Dan Foss's, but it's going to be a good show.
Thank you.
So it's good that SNIPEF are going to be there. What are you on any panels, Barry?
I think I might be on a warmer one, but not yet. Are you taking notes? Am I got to jump on something with you?
You get too much airtime. For all my listeners, Barry's got his own microphone in front of him. He's got a better mic than me.
Listen, I had to get a mic because I went on with Emma, and I had to make sure I could be heard.
I was with Emma last week. We were at the Octopus Awards.
How was it?
Pretty good, yeah. Emma and I enjoyed it.
Well attended.
Yeah. Lovely. Very. I didn't know what to expect really. It reminded me actually very much of the Merit Awards that Installer run. So I don't know if you ever go to the Merit Awards. They're done on the night before, or the first night of Installer, and it's very, very Installer focused. So a lot of award ceremonies, and there's lots of them now. There's a lot. Every media company and PR company working in this industry will be running awards and for something. But you'll tend to find they're heavily dominated by manufacturers. And whereas this one didn't have any manufacturers, I think it was all installers that are putting in solar PV and heat pumps and batteries. And I enjoyed it. Had a quick chat with Greg. Got introduced to a few people. No, it was good. Well, I'd like to say I enjoyed it.
Again, that's a sign of the market getting maturity as well.
Well, Octopus are sort of obviously with this installer program, working more with the current workforce that's out there, the SMEs that are out there, and that's all. That's good news as far as I'm concerned. Helping each other out.
I think so. Yeah,
lots of collaboration, and then we have got the. I don't know if any of you going. I don't know if SNIPEF are going. We've got the Heat Pump Summit next week. Up in
no, we're not involved in that, unfortunately.
No, I mean I'm going. I mean I'm lucky. I've been given a free ticket. It's a strange one.
What happens at the Heat Pump Summit?
I don't know, Barry. If I'm honest. So I never went last year. It was online. So I did watch. Charlotte Church was doing Charlotte Lee, the CEO of the Heat Pump Association, was doing something around training. So I watched that live, and I watched Matthew. I know Matthew a lot at the Department of Energy really well, so I watched his bit live. Now, me being me, and I can be me because I'm independent. I was a little bit critical of this whole heat pump summit thing. I was like, well, what is it? Is it just a media company that's come in and just trying to attract sponsorship and rah? Because a lot of engineers had contacted me about it saying, look, we're overpriced. We can't afford, I think it was 400 and something. It's 500 and something this year. And I had some good meetings with the team that put it on Green TV. So that they're really nice people. I like them. You still got the issue that your average installer can't afford to go. I mean, £500 is probably more than what they pay for their yearly membership for an awarding body, an AB as part of the heat pump thing every year. So it'll be interesting. It's the first year I'm going to. It's only the second year it's been running. Hive, I think, are the main sponsors. I've had meetings with Hive and Era recently because obviously I did that article. Really, really impressed with the guy at Hive, Tom. Really, really warm to him actually.
What did you take from that meeting? And did you change your mind?
Well, no, it didn't change my mind because actually, when I kind of knew what was happening because I did some consultancy for Centrica way back, and I said, look, you've got a bit of an opportunity. You are in what's called a blue ocean strategy, and I explained that blue ocean strategies was written by two ladies because they are completely different to any other energy supplier because they've got 7,500 people, engineers, going in people's homes for a start. That's a bonus because you're interacting with homeowners already. And I said, look, as much as I have complained about the Hive, it doesn't do what a boiler wants it to do, which is kind of what my article said not so long ago as well, which is why Air and Hive wanted to meet me because their press release was about them doing some work together. And the work they're doing together is really good. I like it. It's not really about the whole thing of controlling the boiler. But the other thing I said to them was, you've got 2 million hives in people's homes. That isn't doing what the boiler wants, but you've got access to 2 million people. You've got access through an app. So that hive works through an app. People have got an app. And, as I consult for Nesta, I'm very aware of their whole thing around nudge theory. I've studied nudge theory when I did my behavioural sort of psychology degree. And you can inform customers gently with information to help them on their journey. No one has to get a heat pump straight away, but you can start to. So, they'll talk more about it at the summit. Actually, that is where they'll probably be talking about it, Air and Hive. And like I say, Tom Pakenham, I think his name, and I really, really did like him. Really warm to him, and I'll be chatting to him quite a lot and seeing where they're going and what they can be doing because he did seem to be in it for the right reasons, which was nice.
There's another tipping point as well. You've got British Gas and Scottish Gas selling heat pumps. That's a tipping point.
Centrica's biggest problem is that's so big. They are super, super big, and so they are siloed a little bit. And they don't mind. They've got some lovely people that work there. Some people have worked there for 3-4 decades. Some people have got married from working there way back. There's some really, really nice people. I mean, don't get me wrong, some of them have been some have been snapped up by Octopus and the Era. A lot of the original BG people are now at them companies. But there's some nice people. I mean, as Scott would probably know, there's some nice people work there. But because you've got this massive boiler division, essentially you've got this massive thing of like, I can't think what their boiler insurance is called. Their cover, and that's a big, big business now. These covers, the cover plans for heating and boilers became a big, big industry sort of overnight. I mean, they didn't used to exist not that many years ago, but these are big, big, big parts of their business now. And sort of these are their own little silos. So it'll be interesting to see how they all sort of work with each other or compete with each other, these big entities that are doing installations.
Your Scottish Gas, British Gas, they're local still, aren't they? The engineers are all local to the area.
Yeah.
So it's that whole, you talked about these regional companies want the customer wants a local person. British Gas are already doing that. There is local installers, the local people to the area.
Yeah, Centrica are actually an affiliate member of SNIPEF as well. And part of the thinking was I've got a lot of contacts, people I used to work with, friends that are still there. So we reached out to them, had a couple of meetings, and we've all got similar goals for net zero heat pump installations and such like. And I think it's good because everybody realises it's not one company can do them all. So some feedback I heard from them was that the government was saying, can British Gas not do the rollout. No, it's too big for British Gas. It's too big for Octopus. I mean, I think it's about 80% of the installations are going to be done by SMEs. But Centrica are really open to work with SNIPEF and be part of our low carbon forum, which we've got a couple of weeks. Unfortunately, they can't make it, but I've got a separate meeting with the representative who will be coming in future. But we've all got the same goals. We want to see things progress. We want to see the grant funding go in the right direction. We want to see legislation going in the right direction. So, yeah.
Yeah, the British Gas Zero team, they really want to sort of go take it place. And you've got obviously James Law is within that team. They've got their book that's launched, haven't they?
Yeah, it's good. It's a good book.
Yeah,
thank you for the copy, guys.
Yeah, no, I got it the other day. I'm gonna have James and Lewis on, and also Ian Edgeworth, who's up in Scotland. Who's written his book, because I think the books really complement each other actually really well. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at both, but I quite like the fact they complement each other. So I'm gonna have them both on to chat about them, because as BetaTalk is known for saying, I'm sort of this advocate of courses to resources. Resources are great things for our industry, and we've now got a couple of good books that people can use as a resource to help them do the stuff we want to do. So well done, Scott, for getting your heat pump system. Hope your wife is going to keep nice and warm. She's obviously doing a very good job. Very important job. So yeah, keep her warm. For cheap, which is obviously sounds like you're doing. You got your PV. Good luck in the pilot stuff you're going to be doing with the warmer team. That sounds really interesting. And I'll be seeing you at the beginning of June, both of you anyway, when I shoot up to Scotland.
I look forward to it. Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity to be on today.
Not a problem. Thanks ever so much, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks, Nathan.